Hello and welcome back to Adobe Live. My name's Liz and I'm here with the amazing Tony Harmer, and we are here for day 3 of our masterclass, which has been super fun to work on. Hey Tony, how's it
Uh,
going?
It's going well, Liz. Thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Let's just have a look and see who's joining us in the chat. There's lots of
Oh, yes.
people. I'm loving how many people we've got in the chat with us. We've got Michelle, Jess, Doris, Steve, Sandrine. Hi, Sandrine. Amazing. Sean. Ah, Tim, it's nice to
Nice.
see everybody. Well, to start off with, so hopefully some of you have been able to join us for the first 2 days of these masterclass. So I would love if people would be willing to share in the chat what they've learned or what their biggest takeaway is so far from what we've been covering. So on day 1, we were mainly in Illustrator. Day 2, we were mainly in Adobe Express. And then today we're going to be in After Effects, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, put in the chat what's been your biggest takeaway so far? What have you learned? Anything surprised you? Anything like that? We'd love to hear it. Also one last thing to say, if you are watching us on YouTube, then great, we're so happy to have you, but why not head over to Behance, because you can come and join us in the chat. You can ask questions. So if you head over to b.net/Adobe Live, you can see it on the screen right now. Then you can come and join the amazing community who are all there hanging out with us in the chat. So Tony, what are we going to be working on today?
Well, I think what we're going to be doing is making it move. We're going to make some of the things that we've made over the last
Mm-hmm.
couple of days do some moving. That's
I'm
what we're
very
going to do.
excited about this. I
Yes,
One of my goals for this year is to learn After Effects, and I just made my first ever
you
uh
did.
like animation thanks to a little tutorial from you. So I'm very excited about learning more today.
You did really well, by the way. It's
Oh,
fantastic. I loved it.
thanks.
I loved it. It was a nice surprise.
It was
Yeah.
simple, but it worked. I was just chuffed that I got it
Yeah.
to work, so that's cool. But yeah.
No, you described what you wanted to do. You had the quick tutorial because it really was quick. And then suddenly you're texting me this morning while I'm in the kitchen and go, oh, look, Liz has done this. And it's exactly what you wanted to do. So that's
Yeah,
perfect.
it worked.
Yes. Okay, then. Right. So the journey for us is going to start in Illustrator. That's where we're going to begin because that's where all of the assets are made. And while I did do, because it won't come as a surprise to anybody that we kind of had a plan for what we're doing. We
A little
genuinely do not.
plan.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a little plan, but we genuinely do not make it up as we go along. You know, there's a whole process to it. But anyway, however, these assets look completely different to the draft ones we were teasing Melanie with last week. I think
I know, yeah. Yeah, we did change them.
we did, yeah, which is good fun for us. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I think I'll start with this one that I love. Adobe Express, and we're just going to mess with this a little bit, have a bit of fun with it, or we could start with the mnemonics. Oh, don't know, I'm torn now. No, I'm going to
I
start with
know.
this one here. So what we need to do, of course, first of all, is we need to have an idea of how these are going to be output. Now, that's not essential, yeah, but it is wise. Yeah.
Hmm.
So if you think this is going to be on a 1080p project, then it's probably a good idea to kind of center your Illustrator graphics around that format. But we're not going to be doing anything like that for these. We're going to create animated stickers. That's the objective here for Giphy. And we'll focus around that the whole time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this piece of artwork out, and then I'm going to create a new document in Illustrator. I'm going to use art and illustration, and I'm going to switch the units to pixels. Okay, and then I'm just going to dial in the size. So the size I think I'm going to do here is 500 by 500. So let's just go ahead and change that like so. Now that's square because I think this is going to fit best into a square. It doesn't have to be that. And I mean, if I was going to do this absolutely perfectly according to the recommendations of Giphy, then I really should be doing it perhaps at 480, but it doesn't matter because they'll resize
Yeah.
anyway. And what's 20 pixels between friends? Now, everything else there I think is fine. The raster effects resolution, there's not really going to be any raster effects in it, so I'm just going to leave that at 72 ppi and hit create. So we've got our new document Then I'm going to paste in this artwork and resize it. Now, when you are thinking about this and the end result, you do want to think about the amount of space you've got there. I think that's a good use of that space. You don't want too much room around it. Reason is, when it gets to Giphy and once it goes onto anything like Instagram, for example, as a sticker, which isn't as immediate as you might think, but I'll explain that later on. And you've probably come across this yourself, right? It takes a little while for that to happen. But if you have too much room, the sticker ends up looking tiny. And what happens, even though you can resize stickers, usually if you're using them in a story, a lot of people don't. They just think that's too small and they just drag it down to the trash icon and get rid of it. They don't use it. Yeah, so try and think about that and about other things that are going on. But we've got a few examples to play with here. So this is what we're going to begin with then. It's a group at the moment, so I'm going to ungroup it. Let's get the layers panel open as well so we can see what's going on in there and give it plenty of room. So we can see all of our individual elements in here, but while that's good for us, it's no good for After Effects. After Effects wants them to be not on sub layers, but on actual layers. So we're going to get Illustrator to do this for us, and we're going to go to the flyout menu at the top right of that panel, and we're going to come down to this option here, Release to Layers as a sequence. Now a build is where the previous frame stays put and then it adds onto it and adds onto it, so you get a progressive thing. We don't want that. A sequence is just all the elements there ready to use in a sequence. So we're going to choose Release to Layer Sequence. Boom. Perfect. Our layers are created, so we've got actual layers now. However, they are nested inside of a main parent layer. Now, I've never tried to actually use that in After Effects. It may work. I've never tried to do it because to me it doesn't make any sense. So what I do is I highlight all of those additional layers and then just drag them up until I see that blue line. Can you see the blue line at the top there?
Yeah, I can see it.
And that then moves them out of that layer. You'll see here that layer 1 actually has nothing on it at all. So I'm just going to hit, let's get rid of it. If it's not necessary, it's probably a good idea to delete it because it just isn't going to yield a result unless it's...
And I feel like in this instance, it's so important to have your layers organized, isn't it? Because that's going to be key when you get it into After Effects. Yeah,
I mean, don't make extra work for yourself later on. I mean, normally they are kind of built by their stacking order. Now, this is actually worked out almost perfectly here. You can see that we've got that background shape just there, then followed, in fact I can use the layer proxy here, this region just to the right, to show you. If I click on that, it will select the things on that layer. So we've got the I, then we've got A, we haven't got the heart just yet, and then we've got D and O and so on, and B, and then we've got now that's useful, right? So what's happened, this is a great thing for I can spot another one actually a bit further on. What that is, in creating that shape, probably when I outlined the paths that I used to do it, it's actually generated an additional tiny shape, but too small for us to see. So we don't want that. So we just go ahead and delete that, which is really good. It doesn't really contain artwork in the broader sense. It's an annoyance. So we'll just say okay and get rid of that. So there's the E, and then like so, we make our way through here. Here's another one. Just there you go. It's at the kind of top of that R character there. So this is another thing we can go ahead and delete just there. I'm actually doing that from in the layers panel. It is, it's really helpful.
Really good tip,
because if I just hit delete on the keyboard, then it would just delete the content and leave the layer. So this is a good way to get rid of that. And then we've got everything else that we need there. So ESS on the end. So I'm just going to organize this in the way that it's presented to me visually. I'm just going to bring that heart layer down the stack. And when you're doing this, you've got to make sure, as I did when I moved the layers out of the stack there, that you're seeing this, a blue line. Because if you're seeing this hovering over the layer, Illustrator will nest that layer inside that layer. Okay. There is a time when that's actually really useful. to do, especially if you're doing an effect to a whole load of things in sublayers. But this isn't one of those occasions. After Effects doesn't like it. Okay, so we've got everything else there in the order in which it's presented. So the next real thing to do is to just go ahead and rename them. So I don't know what to call this thing at the back. Do you think
Background?
blob is a
blob? Yeah, blob. That's what that's the sort of thing that I would name.
Blob. Here we go, like so. Okay, and then you'll just make our way through. So I'm just going to do that one and heart, like so. And it's, you know, it's essential. It's got to be done. I'm sticking with the same case, by the way, for how they're done. There are, of course, some characters that will repeat in here, so we can just go ahead. I'm just going to do that one as a lowercase e. Oops, this one is an uppercase e.
I think Sean was thinking that we weren't going to name the layers, but don't worry, we've got it covered, Sean. They're going to be named.
They are. I mean, you can skip that step, but like I said, it's wisdom.
Yeah.
That means I wouldn't skip this particular step.
Well, having had a little play now in After Effects, I can see why it would be an absolute nightmare if you didn't name them.
Yes.
So I'm like totally won over on the importance of naming the layers.
It's just, at the risk of sounding like I say this quite frequently. This is the way I always say this thing. At the risk of sounding like a geometry teacher from 1978. Yeah, it's your own time you're wasting.
So Annika's not here, but Angus has pointed out that we haven't saved yet.
But I'm actually, I swear. Yeah,
you were about to do it.
I was about to do it. So I'm going to create a new folder.
Someone's going to point it out just before you did it.
It would have been wiser, however, if we're talking about wisdom, and Angus is quite right. The wisest thing for me to have done was as soon as I separated those things out into layers, would have been to save at that point.
Yeah.
That would have been real wisdom, because I'd already actually done something other than paste. I mean, you could say, well, you pasted something. That was doing something. Again, quite true.
Gareth has said that you have to say it 3 times to summon Annika. Well, Annika's probably asleep and we're just here like chatting about. I love it.
Speak of the saver and she will appear. So I'm just going to call this one Adobe, not Adobe Express.
Express.
Yeah, it's the French version. Adobe Express. Okay, so Adobe Express AI Illustrator is just fine. This current version is also fine. Hurrah! We have something ready to work with. So let's go work with it. Right then. So I'm going to pop away into After Effects. I'm also just going to reset this layout just so I get rid of some of the panels that I use ordinarily. Let me get rid of this one.
So you've got your library up. That's awesome. So you've got the
well, I actually made I have got
the
colors in. Yeah, I made a new one because I didn't need all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Just there, just for now. And plus, it gave me the chance to call the library Liz plus Tony equals Giggles.
Love it.
Which it does.
It does, yeah.
It does indeed. Okay, so let's go ahead then and bring in that Illustrator file. So I'm in the project panel. I'm just going to double click inside there. If you wanted to import, if you can't double click there for any reason, Command I or Control I will launch the import dialog. So whichever way you want to do it. It's just my mouse was, or my mouse, I haven't had to use the mouse for years. And my cursor was over there and I just double clicked in the window and it's also habit. So I'm going to go into the Thursday folder here. Here's Adobe Express. How do you want to import it? Says the bottom of this dialog here. Of course, if I had hide options, it wouldn't show me anything, but I've got those options on. And there's a similar experience in Windows. So importing as footage would just bring that in as one thing, but we want it to be something else. We want it to be a composition, and I also want to keep the layer sizes so they're not all the document size, which is important, I think. So I'll go ahead and choose retain layer sizes just there. Even though I haven't checked create composition, it's going to do it anyway. So it's like After Effects is like how some of my children have been in parts of their life. I didn't ask you to do that. Yeah, well.
I'm doing it anyway.
Doing it anyway. Exactly. And those of us that are parents, we know that. Okay, so there it is inside of the panel. We get a little preview up there, so it looks cool.
Nice.
Even in now, see that it works even in small, Liz. So we
did well.
We did well. We did. Yeah, works pretty good. So there's our composition just there. You don't lose anything from this. Here are all of the different layers. You can see how they came in there like so. Okay, they've been alphabetized in here, but I know which ones I'm after because I named them. Okay, so let's go and edit this comp. So I'm just going to double click on the comp like so. Yeah, here it appears in the timeline panel. Everything just down here. So here are all our layers, and they have kept the layer structure. Okay, because here in the panel, here in the panel, it's a different thing in the project panel. Yeah, and that's why it just sorts that out for you, because it's more logical that you might want to search alphabetically, yeah, if you're after a particular asset. But once you've got the composition, it's kept everything there for us. Everything appears for that amount of time, which is good. So all we need to do is work out what we're going to do with it. I think I'm going to start, by checking the composition settings. That would be really useful. Now, I happen to know just by looking at this, yeah, that it's exactly the way I want it to be, because I was working on a sticker or two early this morning. In fact, I've been working on stickers all week. There you go. So, and last week thinking about it. But anyway, so to see the composition settings, Command K is the quickest way to do that. Control K on Windows. However, you can also go to the composition menu, and composition settings is just there. Grayed out at the moment because I'm already there. So the composition name, Adobe Express, that's great. You saw us took that from the file name just there. And this is what we're after. So it's taken on the properties of the document. It is 500 pixels by 500 pixels. It doesn't mean that you can't change that, because you can. If you've got something that's in a smaller or larger comp than you need, yeah, then you can go ahead and change those, and it won't have any bearing on the contents. They will just, in the state they're currently in. It just means that some of them might be outside of the comp from there. So square pixels is what we want just here to 1:1. We don't want any of this anamorphic stuff. It's not like for old school TV here. The frame rate, you will notice, normally when I'm doing stuff, if I'm doing video content, it's normally at 30 frames a second. That's kind of the norm. These days, given that most stuff is deployed via a browser, or the stuff I do anyway is deployed via a browser, that's perfect. So 12 is the frame rate I've gone for just there. That is entirely up to you. Yeah, how many frames you use. It's just that 12 kind of works pretty well for a GIF. Yeah. You don't want it to have more frames than is necessary there. So resolution full, that's fine. And what I've done is here, I've given myself 3 seconds. Okay, for that. So that's what I've said. It may be less than that. Yeah, and I may well change that duration at some later point. But here I've just thought 3 seconds is fine. Now I did actually, I'm just going to hit OK here. I did actually prepare something with some guidelines from Giphy. Oh, yeah. If you want to access the full content, I'm going to leave something on the screen for a moment, because this is a good time before we animate anything to check those things out. So I'm going to go back to Illustrator. I don't really need to do this in full screen. Let me just hide the layers panel just there. I'm going to leave this on screen for a sec, because if you want to catch this with your phone or whatever, so you've got the URL, that's fine. But you could also search on the term at the top, Giphy sticker best practices. You'll find yourself there. It's definitely good to check this stuff out before you get started, because then it just means that you can save yourself time, like having it all set up how they want it. I feel like, that we can chat a bit later on about Giphy as well, because there's it's good to sort of get a handle of how it works and what they want before you sort of spend loads of time working. Like I say, it's better to know at the outset. If I said to you, right, Liz, we're going to go on a trip across Wales, and I had sort of neglected to mention that at some point we'd be going across one of the fabulous water features there, then you know, you'd be very upset if we got to the edge of a lake and I just said, "Where's your canoe?"
Yeah, exactly. That's a good example.
It's a good idea. Well,
And
we're going
it's
to climb
very
up this
relevant.
mountain where you moves.
Someone in the chat has asked where I'm from, and so you've answered it for them. I'm from Wales, so there we go.
You are. There we are.
So, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go to, so that's been on screen for a little while, so you've had a chance to capture it. If you haven't got something with you at the moment, don't forget you can always watch us on demand later and come back to it, or search on that simple term. I just tried to make it easy. Where did I make this QR code though, Liz?
Oh, well, I was going to ask you, I reckon you made it in Adobe Express. Did you?
I did, because this is the newer look of QR. This is the newer type of QR, not the traditional Mitsubishi. Was it Mitsubishi or Toyota?
You taught me that you can. Is it in InDesign that you can make them as well? Or is it in Illustrator?
InDesign has a QR code maker, but it will only make them in the original format, the square stuff. And I just think this looks so much more attractive.
Yeah, it's good, and it's really quick to do in Adobe Express. Yeah, it's really easy.
It is. So I did that, and from Adobe Express, downloaded it as an SVG, and then just went ahead and used it here in Illustrator. There you go. I thought you'd be proud of me if
I was thinking, I was like, I wonder if he did it in Adobe Express.
Well, I did. Okay, so that's been on screen for long enough. So these are like because there's a lot of information in there on Giphy, and it's probably a good idea for you to read through all of the relevant stuff about GIFs in general, and then reading the stuff that's relating to stickers, because stickers are different. They've got some things, but these are the editor advanced.
Yes. In case anyone doesn't know, like the GIF stickers are the ones that you would be using in Instagram stories. So they're the ones where you've got a transparent background. They're not the ones where you've got like a clip from a funny TV show. You know, that is a GIF, but this is a GIF sticker. That's how they distinguish them.
Absolutely. So there's only 7 or 8 of these, so this isn't going to be a great big long thing. So 7 or 8, nice and easy. If you want to screenshot them or whatever, go ahead and screenshot them, because these are the things I think you really need. The other things are nice to know, but these are the things you need to know. So first up is duration. So it has to be less than 15 seconds. Their recommendation, however, is 6. And to be honest, with most stickers, you can animate a lot of stuff in 6. The thing we're going to do here, the duration probably will only need to be 1.5 seconds for what we're going to do in this particular sticker. So that's it. So less than 15, their recommendation is 6. The file size is limited to 100 megabytes. If you're producing a 100 megabyte sticker, please message me via Instagram so I can find what's in it. How big is it? Right. Their recommendation is 8 megs or less recommended. Think about the experience of the people that might be using it. So you're in Instagram, you're doing a story, you go search on a particular term, and you see a sticker bouncing away there that you like and think, oh, I'm going to use that one. So you tap on it and then nothing appears on your screen. And you're looking again and still nothing appears on your screen, and again and still nothing appears, and you think, oh, I'm going to choose something else. You go and choose something else, and suddenly the first one comes back in, and you just think, nah.
Yeah, it can't be bothered.
It's just big.
I think, and also GIFs, like they are really compressed when you put them onto Giphy, so you don't need to be outputting these massive files. Like they're gonna get compressed as well.
No, well, in the very last screen that I've got here, we'll actually talk about something. No.
Jumping ahead.
It's all good. And actually, what you're doing there, Liz, is allowing me to reinforce something. So that don't worry about that. So that's all good. So that's the limit. 100 megs, 8 megs or less is recommended. Stickers must be exported with transparency. They have to have transparency. You can't use video clips for stickers. They're not allowed. They just become, you can put them on Giphy, but they will just be GIFs. They won't they won't appear in sticker searches. They won't do any of that stuff. So they've got to have transparency. That's the whole point. You don't want to board around them, no background on them. They have to have transparency. So you have the content itself and transparency in
So
there.
with our one, obviously it does have a background around the design, but that's fine because you have the transparency that's going, of the canvas behind
Yeah.
it. So it like you would have to make sure that you have an element of transparency behind it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Set it up
So, and
perfectly.
that's the thing. And in the very first frame, at least 20% of the first frame must be transparent. Yeah. Because sometimes you might have something. So let's just say our blob went, let's say it's one of the square mnemonics and it went right the way out to the edges and appeared to zoom out from it. Do you see what I mean? So it then suddenly becomes smaller within there. You've got to have that, or the thing just won't accept it. It'll just go like, nah, it's GIF.
So you'd need to do it the other way around, where it was like starting small and then zooming out if you want to have. Yeah, probably. Or just allow for that and just know that you can't have it edge to edge. And it doesn't matter what you do with your GIF, it will be rectangular. Yeah, it doesn't matter about as you were saying with the content, it will be a rectangle anyway. So that's kind of how that works. The source file must be a GIF. You might be thinking about new cool and sexy stuff like aping, animated PNG. Aping doesn't work just yet, but it will. Eventually it will, but it also needs devices to support it. This is the thing. People create great new things. It takes a while.
JPEG 2000, for example. JPEG 2000, which was created, I think, if I recall correctly, in about 1998, which is really weird. Yeah, but called it JPEG 2000. When did JPEG 2000 support appear in other things? 2 years ago. Because it takes a while for people to build these things in. I mean, you could make them. They were really good. They're much better with compression. They can support transparency, loads of other things. I'm pretty sure they can anyway. But they would only be for you to play with. Yeah, you couldn't put them on a browser because the renderer inside the browser wouldn't know how to interpret them. And so you just get a broken image icon. So anyway, it's got to be a GIF. So don't be thinking I can circumvent Giphy by making me a ping, because it's just I don't know what that is. Basically, if I ran Giphy, it would give you a sarcastic message again. It's not a GIF though, is it?
I can't believe we haven't had the chat yet about GIF or GIF as well. Anyway, that's a whole other topic.
That's because it's GIF.
I know. Anyway. I'm with you. Hang on, I've got a couple of quick questions for you. Sandrine wants to know if you can have the first frame empty as a workaround. I feel like you might be able to, but you might not. No, I
think it's got to have a tiny bit of content on there. I think, for it to do it.
And then Sean really wants to know how you're doing a slideshow in Illustrator.
I am just scrolling through the artboards. And Sean, if I wanted to do I'll just show you all the artboards here. There you go, like so. Okay, so they're all there. All I'm doing with this is just using the next artboard command down here, which is down here, but I'm just using the keyboard shortcut equivalent. If you wanted to do a presentation this way inside of Illustrator, Shift F will switch you into presentation mode.
Nice.
So you could work like that and then just escape, to come back out to the artboard. But there you are, Sean. Every day's a school day at Tony House.
Yes.
That's why they all go out. Over in the house. The house just got decorators in it at the moment, but nobody else is there. Anyway, Jeff is a cleaning product. Jeff. And it's Sif now, but there you go.
Let's just start calling them Jeffs.
The number one people come back to, the number one thing people come back to me with, I've got American friends that have gone, well, what about giraffe? And we're going, yeah, it's kind of different. What about gin? Well, giraffe, as they were, because it's kind of a French origin. But anyway, moving on, I believe. Anyway,
I know.
Yeah. If this is all you have to worry about, do you say Life's tomato good. Or tomato? Life is good. You are blessed. And
Tim was like, "Oh, don't start, Liz."
Anyway,
moving on.
We're in accord, right? Moving on. So, oh dear. The GIF must be set to loop without limit. Yeah, right. So forever is the term that's actually applied to it. Yeah, but I put it in there parenthetically. Because you can set a GIF to loop a certain number of times and then stop, which sometimes you might actually want that to be the case. right? But for Giphy, it's got to continue looping because there's no time limit at all. Okay, so and the final one here is resolution. This is the thing that people ask, what resolution should it be? The stuff that's in quotes there is because it is a direct quote from Giphy. Whatever looks best.
Yeah, I've definitely had to play around with a lot of mine. It's not really an exact science.
It isn't. And as they would tell you, if you read the I mean, it's not like pages and pages and pages of documentation. In fact, you know what? Just bear with me 1 second. All right, let me just bring a browser here. Here is the actual sticker best practices. This is it, right? So there you go. It's a not very long page. Yeah, so don't be thinking, oh, I'll just take Tony's highlights. I don't need to read it because that's probably like long. Yeah, it's not that long. You can do that. You can see all of the different requirements here. These are good things to read. And it does also give you advice, you know, because they want you to be successful from the word go. So it gives you advice. It says that things about tagging, it says things that it doesn't really allow. So you can't do one for your best friend's birthday, for example, and put one on there. It just says you can't do promotional events like that. Doesn't work. Or they won't have it. And even if you
can, but then they might flag it up. They'll
or they delete it. And if they do that too many times, they'll just suspend your account. So yeah,
I think like one other thing to mention, if people haven't used Giphy, is like anyone can set up an account. It's really quick and easy to do, and you can upload your GIFs. But if you want them to appear on Instagram, you need to have an approved either. I think the last time I did it was like an artist account or a business account. So you have to go through a whole process of having that approved, which from my experience can take anywhere from like 12 hours to 2 weeks. So it just depends, you know, there's people checking all the applications. But it's very easy to set up an account, but you do have to apply if you want to be able to use them. If you want everyone to be able to use them in Instagram, you can use them yourself in Instagram, but
and even approval, even just basic approval takes 3 to 10 days anyway. Business days, so not calendar days. So putting some up today, for example, you'd probably be looking at the week after next before they would appear. You might be lucky. One of the things they'll ask you for, by the way, when you apply for an artist account, is they'll ask you where they can see your work. And really, they're not interested in the figure drawing sketches you did while you were at college, right the way through to the things that you're doing now. If you did figure drawing at college, that is. What they want to see is they want to see the animated GIFs that you're already creating, and putting a load of things up there, snippets from video and whatever, isn't going to cut it, because they want it to be quality content. So use your Behance profile or something like that to show them on there, or just get a web page and drop them on there. So
I think they just want to check. I got mine approved without showing any GIFs. I think it's just that they can see that you're a working artist, or not even a working artist, that you're, that you're creating. They can see examples of what your work's like. Like you say, they want to check that it's quality and you're not just going to be sticking any old thing.
It also doesn't work by saying here's the URL of Matt Voice's Instagram. Your name's not Matt Voice, and just saying it's my stage name. It doesn't work like that, but there you go. Cool. Well, at least I think it doesn't. I don't know, I haven't really tried it. I was just joking. Right, so anyway, back in After Effects, that's where we kind of need to be right now. So I think let's do something with the heart. I think during the duration of this, which is probably going to be about 1.5 seconds, you don't need to keep repeating stuff if it's not necessary. So just think of the amount of time that you might want to do that. I think the heart should just have a quick dum-dum.
Pulsate, that's what I was thinking.
Just something like that I think would be good. So let's go ahead then. I've got that layer active. I'm just going to tap S for scale just here, and then I'm going to go to the stopwatch down the bottom and just click on the stopwatch, which will of course allow me to start keyframing stuff. And if you want to find out more about keyframing in After Effects, Tim did an excellent crash course, I think it was about a year ago, I think, with Maddie, where he did, no, it wasn't that long, maybe, where he did an excellent thing with Maddie, where they did keyframes, particles, and something else. Can't remember what it was.
Okay. I need to
But
go
anyway,
back and watch that. Yeah.
it's really good. Tis. Tim's a good man. Okay, so I reckon, so I'm at 12 frames a second, remember here. That's 1 second of time just there. So this is going to be fairly quick. And like I said, I think I'm going to go for about 1.5 seconds on this one. So I'm just going to choose a point here. Given that's half a second, around about just there. I'm going to go ahead and make a change. So I'm just going to hover over, because stapler accident finger. Yes. Stapler accident finger is just there. Tim loves stapler accident finger so much. He actually 3D printed one as a little badge. But there you go.
Cool.
That was right from the very first time we met, stapler accident finger. Okay, so I'm just going to press and scroll just to make that bigger. Something like that would be pretty good. So if I scrub backwards and forwards, you'll see that that's going to do just that.
So you're going to go for one. Oh, sorry. Are you going to go for one pulsate, or are you going to try and get in the double?
Always a double.
Yeah.
Always a double.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Always a double. So I'm going to just go move on. In fact, I'm going to move on just a couple of frames there. And then I'm going to just click, enter in a value of 100. The values are linked, so it will go back to that. And what I could do is just copy this frame here and go on a similar distance and then just paste. And so that frame is down.
Nice.
So
I love that you can copy and paste them. That's so good.
Oh yeah, they're really good. The one of the tools, I use a tool, the newest version, Motion Tools Pro, I think dropped yesterday. But you'll see people on here who do things in After Effects who use a thing called Motion Tools.
Okay.
Over the last while, Motion Tools 2. But now it's available as an extension. Before you had to install it into a scripts folder, but now it's just here. You can see these things. You'll have to watch their little video to find out why there are 4 different panels. But anyway, moving on. So we've got those. It would be a good idea to actually try that out. So I'm just going to hit, I'm back at the beginning of the comp, and I'm just going to hit the space bar here. And let's just let that run a second. Yeah, you see, that's too slow. Too slow for what I want. So I'm going to start moving some keyframes around. Let's do some zooming in just here so we can see them. Right, you can actually see the individual frames there right now.
Oh, that's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're doing 30 frames a second, you'll have to do quite a bit of zooming, but the, you've got your little mountains, mountains far away, mountains close up, slider down at the bottom, which is a good way to do it. Or if you like on a trackpad, as I am, just pinch and spread that stuff. Let's right. Okay. Part of the thing here as well. Whoops. Let's just go back to the beginning. Part of the thing here, I might actually just reverse that spacing and take that back out, because here, this first one. So I'm going to take those back to where they were. What I completely forgot is this keyframe right at the very beginning. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames away from that. And you can see that it's changing over that time. So all I need to do here is grab that keyframe and bring that in. Let's space it out evenly. All right, that's likely to be it's kind of almost there. I think it needs to be, most heartbeats take place within a single second. So if you think about, I don't know if you can hear that, but boof, boof, something like that.
Yeah.
Is 1 second. So it's, unless you're Doctor Who, in which case it's. Yeah, that's kind of all right.
Yeah, it's I guess like when you see it looping, then it'll work, won't it? Yeah.
And at the moment, that loop is too long because it's over too much of a time. So what I could do, if I zoom back out again, I can actually change the work area. Okay, so we've got down here this work area end, and I can actually bring that down. I mean, I could have done this anyway, because now we can just preview that part. But I think what I'll do is just cut this down. So if I go for did I say 1.5 seconds?
1.5, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be 1 second, 6 frames, of course, because 12 frames per second. And then Shift Command X or Shift Control X will basically crop the comp down to that time. If you want to do it the long way around, you could always just go to Command K and change this to 1 second, 6 frames in there as well. Just type 106. That will do the same thing. So, see, that's a nice interval. I think just there.
Yeah.
I do also think we might be able to actually improve that a little bit just here. We could try. I mean, I'm just not giving it a whole lot of time to change, but if I go to the graph where we can see the graph here, we've got, these are the frames. This is what we've got for the scale. So these are a graphical expression of those things. I mean, while these are frames and we're thinking in seconds, After Effects doesn't actually think in seconds. After Effects actually thinks in milliseconds, but that would make for graphs to be very, very complex indeed. Yeah. So I've got a point here. I could make that into, well, do you know what? I think I'll just try bending. I will make that into a Bezier thing there. Let's just go and drag that and just slope that in.
This is cool. I haven't tried this bit yet.
So we'll try. Well, this isn't the best place to try it. Try it with something that's a bit longer.
Yeah.
Watch Tim's.
No, I'm going to go back and watch
Tim's thing's really, really good.
And I watched Matt Boyce's one, which was really cool as well.
Yes, he's lovely. He's a nice guy. So let's have a look at if that. Yeah, there is just something to that. I think that's.
Yeah.
That's. I'm not worried so much about the second beat. It's just that first one.
Yeah.
We could try moving that along a bit, so you'll see that. Where it was.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, I think it.
You think it's better there?
Yeah, because it's just a little bit like the pause is a little bit less. Yeah, but those little tweaks,
tiny.
Yeah.
No, I'll click back on the graph here, but like I say, Tim's crash course for that is really good. The frames here have changed because these have got a form of easing applied, so that changes the way they do it. The way that I've explained that for a number of years, easing is because you use it in daily life, right? When you get into a car and the car makes its way away from the curb and into the flow of traffic, it doesn't instantly go to 30 miles an hour. That would have consequences for everybody in the vehicle and the vehicle itself. It eases into that motion. So you go up from 0 up to 30 miles an hour. When you see some traffic lights in the distance and they start to change, you don't suddenly increase the curve. You start to slow down, ready to stop. Something I've been pointing out to some of my children for quite a long time. One of them in particular, and you know which one of you it is. So you start to slow down, and that's easing out of that motion. And that's exactly what's happening here. Yeah, it's just going, scale me a little bit, scale me a little bit, scale me now, like that. So it's kind of climbing.
Evie wonders if it shrinks too slowly on the first
She might be right, actually. She might be right. Now we could go ahead. There's nothing to stop us from changing that now here, so we could drop that down. Let's give that a go. I think that actually Tim's probably chuckling away in the background on this one. He's probably having a right guffaw right now. I think I'm going to change all of them.
Just if anyone has joined us, if you're watching on YouTube, then come over to Behance and join us over there, and you can join in on the chat and ask any questions. Just head to b.net/Adobe Live. We'll get you there.
Anyway, I think that's fine for now. So we've got that bit going on just there, but I need to move on with some of the other stuff. Now,
I know we're halfway through, Tony, just to let you know.
Yeah, I know. We've already covered a lot of ground.
We have. We've covered loads.
We have. Now, with this particular sticker, that might be the only thing we want to do because we've got a lot of motion going into the other stickers. So I think for this one, we're just going to say that's fine just there,
Yeah.
because let's get one sticker output. Yeah.
Nice.
And we're going to output this in the way that only involves Creative Cloud, just to start off with. So, you know, I do use other tools. I'm going to use another tool in a bit to do the other ones. But this one, I'm going to show you the way that you need to do it if you're just using Creative Cloud. Okay. Unfortunately, and I'm sure that After Effects used to have the capability, well, I know it did, had the capability to output. I don't know it did. I'm reasonably certain it did. It's the best way for me to put that these days. Used to have the capability to output animated GIFs. You would think, you know, this is a good tool for doing this. Yeah. Output a GIF. Sense. You know what the frame rate is. You know what the alpha is to do it, but it just, nah. Adobe Animate, which is another place where you can create these things, Adobe Animate does allow you to output GIFs directly from the application. But After Effects at the current time, and this is January 2023, just in case you're watching this on demand at some future point, doesn't. It's just can't at the minute. So what we have to do is we have to render it out as a movie. Okay. So I'm going to go to the file menu. I'm going to come down to export. Nothing in there about make me a GIF. Add to render queue. Right. So we could push this out to Adobe Media Encoder. I'm going to do it directly in the application. It's a 1.5 second thing involving 6 + 12, 18 frames there. Okay, so it's not like we're going to sit here while it renders. So it opens up the render queue down here. Okay, and we've got our different settings. So here's our render settings just here. We don't need to worry too much about that. It's the output module we do need to look at. So QuickTime is what I'm choosing just here, format QuickTime. Okay, I'm not worried about post-render actions or anything like that. RGB, I actually want something a little bit more than that. So what I want is RGB plus alpha, but you'll see there it's grayed out. Tim, if you've got a dun 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 sound effect, play it when I say it again. So
that was good. That was good.
That's so excellent. Okay, so what I actually need to do is I need to change formats, because it needs to be a format that can create an alpha channel for these things. So we need a channel. And Tim has been talking about channels in Photoshop for the last, no, he's been talking about masks, but there's some correlation between elements of channels and that. Okay, so I'm going to click here for format options. So at the moment, a lot of stuff I output is a ProRes 422 or 422 LQ. It needs to be 4444. Yeah, so Apple ProRes 4444. Everything else there is just fine. In fact, it's great because it's all grayed out, so we don't have any awkward questions about that format. So I can click OK. Now it will go back to RGB plus alpha. Ooh, super good. Everything else there is okay. Audio output auto, which means it won't create me an audio track, or shouldn't create me an audio track from there, because it hasn't detected any audio in the timeline. So it should be free of that, I believe. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK for that. That's good to go. Over to the nice big button over here. And even at this point, right, you could still change your mind and queue it in the Adobe Media Encoder, but I'm going to go, no, I'm going to render it. I get a dingy noise in my ear that you don't get. It goes like, bling, tells me it's done. Can't remember where I was outputting it to.
Now you've got to go find it.
Probably, yes. But anyway, moving on. I'm going to go back to Photoshop. Now, I hid all my recent files with many pictures of me and one picture of Liz.
Oh, well done. I didn't do that yesterday.
Not my first rodeo. I'll tell you what I do. Here's my secret unveiled for you, Liz.
Thanks.
I type a backtick in there. So that's the key that's associated on US keyboards with the tilde key.
Now everyone just knows that I'm obsessed with you, Tony. And I just edit photos of you in Photoshop.
Well, it's reciprocated. But there you go. Because I do that because people just don't notice it because there's not a character there. Either that they think it's a bit of dust on there or my screen, doesn't it? You know?
Nice. I love that tip.
If you think you're seeing dust right now on this screen, you're completely missing the concept of how this is actually recorded. There isn't a camera over there. Anyway, moving on. Right, so I'm going to do file open. Oh, there it is. It's on the desktop. Winning.
Perfect.
There you go.
Nice.
There is that movie. Like so. Now, you might be thinking, oh, no, it's done a background. This is the operating system showing this just at the moment. So I'm just going to hit open. I don't need to do anything else. There you go. Got the alpha channel. The timeline panel is open. Yes. Everything is there, ready to go. So what I need to then do, okay, is go to the file menu, come down to export and choose save for web legacy. Don't get me started on the word legacy there, because when they actually provide me with another way to output GIFs from Photoshop, I'll stop whining about it. But anyway, so I'll choose that, and then the save for web legacy window opens like so. Here we are. Right, so it knows it's going to be a GIF. Amazing. If it didn't, you'd just go to GIF from the formats just here. Okay, and then you can choose some other things. So if you wanted to reduce the file size, you get an idea of how big that is down here. I'm trying to move my mouse around rapidly so you can see where I'm looking. So from the actual image itself, diagonally down, it says GIF 50.71 kilobytes. Yeah, your phone is going to get that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Light speed. Pretty much. That's nice and tiny. You could do it bigger. Like I said, you know, I'm just using that as a recommendation from the GIF. They will process it afterwards. And in fact, Giphy does renditions of it anyway, depending on how it's being used. So when you see it in the little menu inside of Instagram and whatever, when you tap on it, it chooses which one it's going to bring down. So there you go. Right, so that's good. I don't really need to do anything else here, nor do I really need to do a lot regarding the colors. However, you might be wondering, these are all the colors being used in it in this color table. You might be thinking, yeah, but where are all those colors coming from? Well, that's a result of the anti-aliasing. I'm just going to, because it doesn't let me scroll, I'm going to zoom in just here. So just to create this anti-alias look, yeah, it has to generate colors. It actually does them as transparency inside of Photoshop in the first place, but that will give you this result just there in the table. Yeah, nice. If you've got something that has this, these are quite solid mainly. If you've got something, the table is completely full, you've got a maximum of 256. If you've got something like that and the file size is high, you can always try a reduction. Yeah. Now I'll do the opposite here. I'm going to go for an increase. I'm going to double it. Yeah. So 256, and it's now made up a lot more colors. To be honest, that might make it slightly smoother. It might.
Yeah.
It's gone up.
It hasn't affected it that much
by
though,
1 kilobyte.
Yeah.
So here I feel like we're lording it up now. Yes. Let's have 256 colors.
Look at us go. Crazy.
Yeah, I know. This is how rich we are. Right. Okay. So, and there's lots of other things that you can play with. You don't need to be scanning all of these things right now if you want to look at them. HelpX, Adobe HelpX has plenty of articles on that with the amazing community experts. Right, here's the looping options. Yeah. So is it going to play it one time?
No.
Yeah.
We need it to play forever.
Forever.
Forever and ever.
Oh, no. If you were using this output for something else other than Giphy, you could say maybe I want it to play 2 times before it, and you can choose all of that stuff from there. It just gives you a number to put in. But forever, we can play it from here. We can play the animation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
The animation is working exactly the way we designed it. So we can say, yep, that's just fine. I'm going to do save. All right. Adobe Express.gif just there. So crazy. My head's swimming now with the possibilities. And that's it. I'm going to pop back out to my operating system just here. Okay. And let's go out to the desktop because that's where it's going. Here's my GIF.
Nice. Tim said that what about the matte setting can be quite important, but we didn't have to do anything to the matte setting, did we?
We didn't have to on here, but he's quite right, actually. Let me just go back into the safe web options. Right, so the matting, what has to happen here, right, is that basically a color has to be nominated here in the first place, right? So Photoshop would scan this image for colors and then create a color that didn't exist in the image and then say that's the one that defines transparency. You won't see it because, hey, it's transparent, right? But it does show it you in the color table. Can you see that there's one here that has a little dot in it? That's the made up color that's using. Now, matting, right, will depend. It really have to think about how it's going to be used, right? What's going to happen. Now, because this is kind of black on the edges, it might be wise for me to choose black. Right. You can see you've got different options for how this is going to be used. So black would probably actually be a better matting color. It will change some of the things in the color table, because whereas before there were a lot of whites and a lot of light grays, it's now changed those. The color at the bottom here is now showing transparent because it's actually white. That's what it's using just there now. Hang on, no, it'll be another black, won't it? Of course it will, just on that. But it will change the way this appears. In fact, you can see actually it's not looking as good as it was before. Let me change that back to white. Have a look. Right, can you see?
Yeah, there's a slight like white, almost like a white hair.
Yeah, I can't get in any further, but you can see there's these, and they might appear as a fringe around the outside. So in the next sticker that we do, I'm actually going to add white around that in the actual artwork. So I'm going to highlight that out. Nice. So that I can just leave that at white. But that's good shout, Tim. Thanks, man. That was really good. But here, that's just going to go out to black. And it makes sense to use that, although I could use exactly the same color, right, by choosing eyedropper color, and then dropping, getting the eyedropper tool. Droppering, maximum dropperage. Right, I've done that. I've just chosen that color with the eyedropper. And now if I go back and say eyedropper color, that fringing, I don't know if you've seen that, but it was just a little bit more deep a moment ago. It's now matched out to the whole thing. Cheers, Tim, for having my back on that. Appreciate it. It might look a bit blocky at the moment, but I am viewing this at 321%, where it's kind of a lot bigger than it's going to be used, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely, definitely is. I could zoom that out. It will be just fine.
Perfect.
Okay. Groovy. Thanks again, Tim. In fact, it'd be a good idea for me to save that again and let it overwrite the other one. Save any embarrassment when I put this up on Giphy in a bit. Okay, so that's the way you would have to do it, if you're just with Creative Cloud. If you want to drop, if the thing I'm going to use next has a fee attached to it, it's not huge though. It's like $40, I think it is, something like that. For the thing we're going to use in a bit. But let's go back to, we need to go back to Illustrator first. I've got to get a chivvy on. We've got like half an hour.
I know, yeah. We've got half an hour left.
It's fine. I can do it.
We can do it. Are we going to do one of the boss level ones? Or
we are.
Yes.
And we're going to do this one of the ones with the circle in. So, of course, true boss level is achieved in Illustrator. So I'm just going to do Option Command N. That would be Alt Control N, which creates me a new document using exactly the same profile as before. That shortcut also works in InDesign, by the way, which you'll use the last document profile that you used. Let's paste that down, boss level, like so, and make that big-ish. I sort of know what I'm doing here with this, so that's good. Right, perfect. Let's get that layers panel open again. Right, we've got all of these things in here. I mean, I could actually try and strip those out anyway. It's not grouped, is it? No. So these are sub layers. They're a slightly different thing. That's why it's telling me that they're paths. So I'm going to do release to layers as a sequence. Turns all of those things into actual layers up to the top. You could do an action, I guess, that would do this. Probably a script that does it, but it's like, it's not going down into the cold, dark earth of fetch back coal. It's like really, you know, straightforward. Okay, so I'm just going to give this some short names. Nem for mnemonic, B, S. We've got two S's in there, of course. S1. Now, I could... No, I'll add that on at the end. I was just thinking I could actually just get rid of the things that aren't duplicated or that are duplicated here. I will mention it though. In fact, if you can remind me, about 20 past.
Okay.
In fact, 22 minutes past. 23 minutes past.
What am I reminding you about?
23 minutes and 9 seconds.
layers.
I don't know. I forgot already. No, just about the alternate methods that I would have chosen here. And what I might do is I might actually flip that one. Oh, wrong way. There we go.
Oh, nice. That. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that makes
so they're not exactly the same. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that actually with this one. Nice. There we go. Groovy. Check that out. Right, so let's go ahead and do that. Just get that into place. Let's just save it. Boss level AI. Nice. Groovy. Okay, so into After Effects. A double click ski just there, and let's just choose composition, retain layer sizes. My operating system's taking a minute to just show that as being a valid file, but it's fine. It's all good. Composition, layer sizes. Look, this is what I love. I already chose that already, but it just are you sure? Yeah.
yeah. Just wants to double check that you know what you're doing.
Hey, Tone, do you really want to do that? Yes, I do. Okay, so let's do a few more things with this. So I've double clicked on that. Why aren't you there? There you are. Weird. Okay, so first thing that's going to get some animation going on here is going to be the mnemonic itself, even though it's not really a mnemonic. I could have just typed O for that. And again, this is going to have some scale on it. Do I go and say, I think I'm going to say right at the outset, this is going to be 1.5 seconds. So I'm just bringing the work area down. That's not the same as the timeline view just there, which is another way that you can resize that content. And Shift Command X, I'm presuming on Windows that's Shift Control X, more than likely is. I'm going to tap S again for scale, and then we're going to do some things with this. So the minute I click on that stopwatch, a keyframe is automatically added to the timeline. And I've got 18 frames to play with, so I think I'm going to go with 6. 3 of those things just there. So let's just push up the size of that. There we go. Something like that I think will be fine. I'm going to go to this first frame just here. There's a couple of different ways I could do this. I could copy this frame and paste it and onwards. Is that going to work at 6 seconds actually? So that'll be 6, that'll be 12, 18. No, that would leave me
too much maths on my life.
Actually, well, this is the great thing now, because I can bring this down to wherever in there, or if I take it, I'm going to take it to 2 frames just to start off with. I am going to copy this frame and do that. There's nothing wrong with doing this at all. There are more efficient ways to do this to get that repeat. So once I've got a repeat like that, I could use something called an expression and tell it to use an expression called loop out, and it would just continue looping those things just there. Maybe I'll do it on a thing a bit later on, but there you go. That's what that's going to do. All right, so it's going to get big, then it's going to get small again. Okay, so it needs to go to big and then small. So I could get those 2 frames and copy them, yeah, and just move on a little bit from there. I'm using the same kind of time there. But like I said, there's nothing wrong with doing it this way, but is it the best way to use your time? Don't know. Now, that doesn't get to the end there, so I am actually going to select all of those keyframes, and I'm just going to change them out, because right at the end, I actually want this to be... Oh, did your earpods run out of battery? I don't know if Liz can hear me now. Liz is just switching her audio source over.
I just had to switch my earphones, but I'm back.
I love it when that happens. I've got a pair of... I'm in exactly the same boat as you. I've got a pair always to the side there. Anyway, I actually want, at the end of this, I actually want it to be in the same state as it is at the beginning. Yeah, for this, because it's going to loop, of course. To make these spread out evenly across that, I mean, I could move them all manually into those places. I'm going to hold down the Option key, Alt on Windows, and just drag that across like so. And now they're re-spaced across that. So let's have a look at how that works. And that's kind of what I'm after. I'm after that sort of boom, boom, heartbeat again, just there. But I want it to have an effect on some of the other letters, starting with the B. So we're going to go to the B. Now, this thing here, this is called the anchor point. And it's not an anchor point in the way that you might think about it in terms of Illustrator. It's the point around which transformations occur. Just to very, very quickly show you how this... So this is made of 4 anchor points in Illustrator. However, if I want to scale them around from the bottom corner, I could use the scale tool like so. You can see there's a little reference point just there. I could drag that to this corner. Then if I scale it, you can see it's scaling down to that place. Nice. It's reference point in Illustrator, for transformation effects. Anchor point in in After Effects. Now you can drag this around with a tool. Sorry, the pan behind tool. Just here. I'm just going to mute for a second, Liz, and just have
a good cough.
Absolutely. I am struggling against the cold right now, or the vestiges of it. So I can use this particular tool here, the pan behind anchor point tool. There is, I do have another tool that allows me to move this very, very quickly into the position I want. But for the purposes of this, in the same way that we've got hand drawn, rough and edgy, it's just fine. So now the transformations that I'm going to work on, they will apply around that point. So when I scale it downwards, it's going to scale down to that point here. So let's go ahead and tap S. In fact, I can just turn it, or I'll leave that open. Tap S here. So now we're in the scale of possibilities here for us with this particular character. Just down here in the bottom of the bottom corner of the timeline we're looking at the moment, there's this white arrow on this layer, on the mnemonic layer. I can actually use that to take me directly to the next keyframe. Now, don't worry about where that is at the moment, because it's been spread out right across those things. They are in pretty much the same place, but well, they're not, but it's fine. Anyway, this time, what I want it to do is I want it to scale downwards, and you'll see that as I do that, it's moving down to that point like so.
Nice.
So if I dial back, you can see it's reacting to that. Again, I want this to apply pretty much every time that I do it here. Actually, just try that loop out thing just in case you want to see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the stopwatch here. Okay. I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key. I'm going to click on that, and that allows me to start an expression. Right. So this is a small piece of script attached to those frames. So if I try loop out, okay, there we go, and we get those parentheses either side, and then I'm just going to hit enter on my keyboard, not return, that will take me to a new line, but enter like so. So let's just play that for a second. That's perhaps a bit too quick.
No, but you can see how it works.
You can see how it works, but all I need to do is make an adjustment just here. Ooh, I've got both keyframes selected. All I need to do is make an adjustment, and then it will adjust. Anyway, moving on. If I want to get rid of that, I can just reverse the process. So I can just Option click that again, and it goes back. You can tell when there's an expression in there because the numbers go red.
Okay.
Right, so I'm going to bring that back. Oh, I've just done both keyframes again. There we are. I'm going to bring that back. And what I'm going to do is just copy paste these and then just spread them back in the same way. So just got those. I'm going to go ahead a couple and paste, and ahead a couple and paste. All I'm doing is moving the current time indicator, or the CTI, or the playhead, however you want to refer to it is fine. 2, 4, 6. That's the same amount. So Again, I'm just going to select all of these keyframes, just dragging to get those like so. Option key down, spread those out. And if I've done that properly or even close to properly, I haven't. There's one missing. Oh, it's still big on one side. So I need another keyframe just here. So
I love how easy it is to copy and paste the keyframes. It makes life so
pretty
much
straightforward.
Easier.
Yes. I just need to go to here. I forgot about copying the initial state, so I'll just paste that down on the edge there like so. So let's do that. Option key down and drag that out. And there you go. They now match up pretty much like so. Just don't worry about what you're seeing here. Just worry about the timeline is the bit that you're seeing. So if you think they're not matching up, that's all right. It's just me because I'm scrubbing quickly with it. But if I just play it.
Oh, cool.
See, I think that's going to work pretty well just there. And then pretty much I would want to do that for all of the other layers. So, well, I'm going to do something slightly different for each one. For the first S, I'm just going to tap P to get the position. Just here, let's take the playhead back to the beginning. Okay, and do that. This, by the way, the method I'm using here to stretch these out is really easy because I'm using such a small amount of frames to do it. But so that's it at where it is at the moment. I'm going to go to the first state change, which is along here. Okay, and then I'm just going to move this across. So we've got two sets of numbers there, X and Y. So X being across, Y being up and down. So I'm just going to move that over to the side a bit like so. Okay, something like that. That's fine. So what will happen is as that grows, this will move there like that. Okay, and then I need to get this frame copied just here. In fact, I could copy both, thinking about it. If I just, mind you, I'll put myself in the same position I did before. So I'll copy that one first, move across a couple and paste. Then I'm going to copy these two like so, move across a couple and paste. So even doing it this way, and the reason I am doing it this way and not doing anything clever with it is because this is nice and accessible way. When I gave you the little training thing the other day, I said this isn't the most efficient way to do what you need to do, but it is a way that you can latch onto really quickly. It works really, really well.
That definitely made it more accessible to me because I was able to really easily remember and do that.
Yeah, and then once you've got that, you can then build on it and make your way out to the clever stuff. But it's taking those first, they're baby steps, really. That's what you want to do, is just take those baby steps. I'm just collapsing some of these down just for the moment, just so I can see the keyframes there. So this one's going to scale. I need to change that anchor point just here. I still have the pan behind tool selected, so I'm going to bring that down to this point here, because I think that if I just do scale for this one, again, like so, and just bring this out, then I want this one to shrink down a bit. Okay, so I'm just going to take that down. You can see how it's going in the right direction just there. So it's only a tiny bit. It's a tiny little bit. That's all it is. Yeah, but now I've got that. Can move along a bit. Just take the playhead along. Then I'm going to copy both of those things just there. And we've got this going on like so. And just to this point here. Also, I can just pretty much click with these things and it'll end up in exactly the right place. Option key down, spread out like so. So how's that working so far? Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah, we could keep looking at it, but that's the temptation. And it's not a bad thing to look at I think that's a nice, engaging animation.
Yeah.
It's not super complicated, but if you look at most stickers, they're not. Yeah,
I was just going to say that actually, that often, well, from using a lot of the GIFs on Instagram, often the ones that have more like subtle or simpler animations actually work better, I think.
Yeah, they do. They do. And you're quite right. So for this one here, I've just marked the position there. I'm going to drop out to this one. This one needs to go down. So I'm just going to bring that down. Not too much, just enough like so. Okay, copy this frame. And I'm just going to make my way through doing these things. You were saying earlier, but we want to find out what people have learned from this, right? From these things.
Tell us what your biggest takeaway from today so far is. I am absolutely loving sort of getting to watch you do this in After Effects. I'm going to spend probably the weekend playing in After Effects now that I've done my first successful animation.
That the very first time you do an animation sticks with you. It's
Yeah.
you know, it's a big thing. I went to the V, by the way, first off here, because everything else I'm going to do with the other L's and E's are pretty much going to do. Now I could actually animate both L's at the same time, so I've just command clicked both L's just there. I am going to bring my playhead back to the beginning. Oh, it's there already. I'm going to tap P, because these ones I want them to pretty much work in tandem. Yeah, so I want those to, I go to this first place here, so let's go ahead and do that. You'll notice it's now doing both of those at the same time. Go out to here, and then I'm going to make these go down a bit like so. I can change that after if I want to, which I'll probably do. And then I can go on. Now this is the only thing in After Effects itself. You find yourself in this position of kind of copying these frames across like so, but that's, again, you know, for the individual layers, it's not very helpful when you try and paste across different layers.
Yeah.
But I have a tool for that, but that's not what everybody can access. So I'm just going to work on those bits individually, like so. How are we doing for time? 15
We've got 15
minutes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm just going to copy this one here. You can see it's not a huge amount of work. Even this, which a lot of people would say you're doing that the long way around. Absolutely. And I refer to my earlier statement regarding that. So
yeah, definitely. Well, that's the thing. This is, yeah, if you're doing it the long way around, this is still really like manageable to get done, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also you're explaining everything as you go, which makes it take a bit longer.
Makes it so much more fun.
It does.
But the and I can make a bit of variation in here as well. I'm just going to work with this E just here. So again, these are all pretty much going to be based on position. There are different ways I could do that. I could make one thing. So rather than, in fact, we'll do the slightly more clever bit in just a moment. What we're going to do is I'll just add a position keyframe for the blue E, the sort of deep blue, purpley, whatever color you want to call that here. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that across, okay, just like so. Then I'm going to bring that down there like that. Okay, maybe not to the same extent as the other one. I'm going to copy that keyframe. Okay, and then I'm going to come back to this one here and paste. Then I've got the same formula, okay, as I had before. Right, okay, so exactly the same thing, just moving along there like so, nice and quick. Pasting those down, going ahead and grabbing all those keyframes, and just as several times before, got that. So something I could do, yeah, rather than doing that to the second E, especially if I want it to go the same or similar to the other one, is I could make the first E, yeah, oh, I've gone to L just there. I could make the first E, so this is the one I'm actually after, E1, which is the kind of magenta one. This thing here, this is this drop down that we've got at the moment that says none, and this thing here is the pick whip, which is so much fun. Right, this thing here allows me to create a parent to a layer. So if I say your parent is the E layer, yeah, then you can see it's doing exactly the same thing. Now, there are various other things I could do, such as offsetting the way it is. When you go to the shops with your little girl, you hold her hand, right? And so that's basically what it does. But sometimes she might stretch her arm out a little bit while she's doing things. And so you could actually kind of set that and say that this E goes down just a few more pixels than the other one. But it's still stuck to that one. I'm a big fan of analogies. Can you tell?
I know. I was just going to say, you always have such good real life analogies. It makes it easier to understand.
No, those are all moving a bit too regularly for me, that one. But I'm not desperately worried about that. There are different things I could do. I could use something called a wiggler to make these behave slightly differently. That just adds a bit of variation. But for now, that's good. However, I want to put a white border around it. I don't want it to be just the way it is. And there are at least 3 ways I can think of to add that white border. But none of them are going to do it inside of this comp. So Command N, Control N, is going to create me a new comp. So I'm just going to call this BL, so for boss level, underscore AI. And that's my naming convention for this one. You conjure up one that works for you. This one has 18 seconds. So this basically needs to have 106. I'm just highlighting all those values in there and typing 106. And when I tab, you can see that it's done that 1 second, 6 frames there for me. Okay, so that's done. So I've got a new thing with that. There's actually nothing lives in this one at all. And then I'm going to go to the project panel just here, and I'm going to drag boss level AI into the timeline. Okay, now that is now there and updated like so. There you go. So I've got the composition inside of another composition, very much like you might with a smart object. Yeah, it's wrapped inside the other thing. And I can then do some things with that. Now, one of the ways I could do this is I could actually go to layer styles and choose stroke. Yeah, now that's drawn a stroke for me around those characters. I can go to the effect. Oh, it's not an effect. Sorry. I can go down here to the controls, and I've got stroke just there. So I could change the color of that like that. Okay. I can change the width of it.
Oh, great.
Like so. Yeah. So I can do those things. You can see why stapler accident finger is so cool. Yeah. I could do that and other things beside, and it's positioned. So at the moment it's outside, which makes perfect sense to this. But I could, for example, change it to inside and here, draw the stroke in a different place like that. Can you see that?
Yeah.
No, that looks horrible.
Yeah, go back to outside.
Outside is what I want. That's one way I could have of doing that. I'm just going to undo that a few times till I go back to there not being a layer style on it. I could have also clicked on layer style there and deleted it. Another way I might do it is using some effects. So I could go to the effects here, come down to generate, and so generate me a fill. Yeah, so this is what happens to start off with. Now the color, this is where effect controls comes up at the top here. I could say, okay, we'll change that to white, but at the moment it's all white. I said, remind me of something at 13:22 and 9 seconds. You've got 5 seconds just to let you know.
I can't believe you're reminding me to remind you.
Oh no, I've basically remembered. I'll come back to it in a second. I'll just do this bit first. Right, so that has done that. And of course, the fill is completely going over the top. So what I'd need to do is add 2 more things to that. I'd need to go to another effect and down here to channel and choose minimax just there. Okay, and I'd need to change this one to alpha and color. Now, again, you're not going to see that much of a result there just at the moment for that. Okay, nothing there is going to happen. I need to go one more time, effect, just here. And why am I not in channel? Oh, because I'm not in the right place. There we go. Interesting. What have I not
Classic. Done? Something's not clicked.
Select the layer. Thanks, Tim. Didn't Tim just whispered in my ear? Select the layer. You should. I would have added dirt on the end, Tim, if I was you. Channel and CC composite. Right now, this gives me some controls that I can do to change this. So I can change the radius around this and bring this out like so.
Okay.
So I've got that option as well, and there is still yet another option I could use, but the one that you should choose is the one that works for you. So let me just go to, I'll get this one exported. I have here something called GIF Gun, which you can get from AE Scripts. It is not very expensive at all. And this allows me to click here and make a GIF. I've got some settings that I can explore there. So it's output to the project folder if I want to, or custom folder. It's just going to do that just there.
So this is the alternative to what we did before taking it into Photoshop. Right?
Yeah, this is directly, yeah,
level.
Absolutely, that step, yeah, or those several steps, which also gives you a movie that you don't want, some work that you do in Photoshop that you don't want. You have to go something that has legacy and parentheses around it. This one, you just do make GIF, and that's it. Amazing. It runs through the timeline. Let's go out to my Finder, just here. And it's in, there we go. Well, it actually opens that for me. They are blai.gif. Boom.
Amazing. That's so
There and
easy.
working already.
Tim has put in the
Much
chat that
easier.
it's $30. That's a bargain.
Is that what it is? Yeah,
Yeah.
$30. So basically
I'm gonna get that.
22 quid or whatever it is.
Yeah.
No, oh no, not anymore. Probably about 25 quid now.
Yeah.
Would have been 22 quid.
You don't want to think
at
about
some
it.
point.
It's too depressing.
Right. Obviously, I've got 5 of these to output. Right, so 5 of these things to do for the plan that we've got. But there is a way that I could do that without having to export all of these things all the time. What I would then do, if I was doing it this way, the smarter way to do it, in addition to having these things here, I would collect, okay, all of these shapes. So this one, this one, this one, and the InDesign one above it. I would do that. You'll notice, however, that these have all got different color schemes for the letters.
Yeah.
They're all different. If I was working smarter with this, I probably, in reality, I wouldn't have any color to start off with. I would do them all light gray.
Okay.
Yeah, something that I could see nice and easily. Yeah, and all of the mnemonics, they would be inside of this file. Let me just get rid of that one there. They'd be in there. Okay. Which one am I? Yeah, that's it. They'd be in here. So instead of, as well as that one, I'd have the InDesign la 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 and la la la. When I brought them in to After Effects, so as they are here, and it will have no consequence now if I do this to these layers just here. Yeah. What I would do is, when they came in from Illustrator, is I would right click there, and you can see I've got a whole stack of them selected, all bar one. Not that, and that's just me accidentally. And I would do create and create shapes from vector layers. Right, so what that you would notice no change there in the end results. In fact, you can see all of the original layers, their visibility is turned off. Okay. But now I've got these outlines, and you can do a lot more with shape layers in After Effects, yeah, than you can with things that come in from Illustrator.
Because you can like manipulate the type then, can't you?
You can, yeah. And that's so if you wanted to do some stuff that was very matte voice and whatever else, that kind of thing with stretching, characters, that you can do all of that good stuff. But shape layers is the key to doing that. Additionally, right, with a shape has various different properties, right? You can see all of the contents here, so it shows me all of those. I've got a fill just there. It's taken on the fill of the layer above it, but I could go ahead and change that either here, or if that's too much effort and that scares you by doing that, you've got this little bar at the top here. So if I click on that, I've got an eyedropper. I can come over to our library, so I'm sticking with the color scheme.
Loving the library.
There you go. And so I can just go ahead and easily change it. Output the GIF, turn on the and swap out the logo. Yeah, for the next one, all I'd need to do.
Because you'd just have them all there, wouldn't you? Would you just you'd just hide or turn on whichever one you wanted? Yeah,
and just do it. So for the logo, well, better than that, from the project panel, if I had another logo in here, I would hold down the Option key and drag that and drop it over where it says Menem there. I'll drop it on that and it would replace it. So the animation would be preserved.
Would stay the same.
Have a different thing in there. And that's how you get all that stuff done in an hour.
That is absolutely amazing.
There you go.
So good. And with 2 minutes left to wrap up, that's perfect. You're a pro. I love that. I think that's so helpful because I think they work really well as a set. And so having that little quick those sort of tricks of how to do it saves so much time.
The only other piece of advice I can offer, Liz, when you're getting to, once you've got your Giphy account and you're gonna start uploading stuff to Giphy, then you're not going to get very far without tagging it. So think about how you're going to tag it, because people need to search it and they're not going to search on some random term like I want a thing with a la 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 la. You're going to search on particular things. So if you search Illustrator boss level, for example, those words would be kind of important to be in the tags.
The tags are so key. And also if you are a designer or an artist, then it's really great to tag them all with your name, because then people can just go in, like that can just be one of the tags. You'd have all of the other tags there, but then people can go in, just search your name and they'll see all the GIFs that you've created, which is really great.
That's cool. I've just noticed, by the way, and I can see the chat on my other monitor, and I've just noticed that Sandrine has asked a question: can the fill be time framed? Yeah, that's something you can actually do. And in fact, you can't do it from the thing at the top here, right? So if I go for this this thing in it, but if I go down into the contents, right, you can see there's a stopwatch next to fill color. Yeah, so if you wanted to, and there's no harm in me doing that now, if I click the stopwatch, so it's that green color at that particular point. If I wind that on a little bit, and I'm going to eyedropper the color from the artwork just there, you'll see it will transition
Ah, that's so good.
between those colors. So
Yeah,
absolutely it can.
really easy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tony. I am so excited to
Thank
like put
you.
into practice everything that I've learned today. We really hope that you've enjoyed our sort of 3 days of masterclasses. It's been really nice to work on one big project, and we've had all sorts of different outcomes, ranging from Illustrator, Adobe Express, and now in After Effects. But yeah, we'd love to hear what you think, and I will be back. The next live stream on the UK channel will be next Monday. I will be back with my half-hour Adobe Express stream at 12 o'clock. So it's a new time. It's not on Fridays anymore. It's on a Monday at 12 o'clock, and I would love to see you there. Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to have you all with us in the chat, and we will see you
Yes.
soon.
We love you.
Yes,
We do.
we do. See you soon, Tony.
Thanks, everyone. See you soon. Let's take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.